Shabbat Shalom, family. We're having a very loud thunderstorm right now. It's loud. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about Texas. Texas had probably one of the worst floods. And on top of having a really bad flood, it flooded in the same place that it flooded in 2025. And it was a pretty bad flood in 2025. But I think this one really tops the one from 2025. So they are under deep water, and it came from a very heavy storm, and several inches were accumulated in a very short period of time. And y'all, this is just looking like more judgment on many of these states. You know, Texas is one of those states that jailed a lot of people that ended up getting exonerated, and a lot of mass incarceration went on in Texas, and many of our people did not get fair trials. So I guess the chickens have finally come home to roost, for real. So let me share my screen. Boy, it is buckets pouring out here. We may end up with several inches. I mean, it is really coming down. All right. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen.
We are back with a Fox weather alert. Right now, Texas is dealing with deadly flooding with dozens of counties under states of emergency.
Robert Ray is live on the ground in San Antonio with more. Robert.
Yeah, good morning. 2 dead, unfortunately, according to Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And look at these images from the past couple days as floodwaters inundating towns like Uvalde yesterday. Over 2 feet of rain blowing up creeks, streams, and rivers. In fact, that town of Uvalde was completely inundated. Nobody could get around. First responders having problems getting into areas where people needed to be rescued, and evacuations continued. We are told that over 230 water rescues have occurred in the past couple of days. And then on top of that, from the air, helicopters circling regions, plucking people out of harm's way. All of this with rounds of storms that all began on Monday, including tornado warnings and tornadoes that touched down north of San Antonio. And you look at some of this video from the air and you realize just how intense these neighborhoods were swamped. Here's Texas Governor Greg Abbott on the situation.
One is a male near Comfort who was swept away in an RV. Another is a female in Uvalde who was swept away while driving on a road.
All this just over 1 year from the tragic incident in Kerrville where 135 people lost their lives in nocturnal flash flooding. There is trauma in this region, and the hope is that no more of these systems come in anytime soon. Next week looks to be dry.
This is Seco Creek, and it is close to Kerrville. And the people who live along this creek tell me they've never seen, in fact, they've never even heard of it doing what it did this week. Sure, it floods. It flooded last July on July 4th. But did it do things like this? Did it put 2x4s that high up in the trees? No, they've never seen that. Look across the creek. There's a pickup truck. They don't know where that came from. And so the people who are in these homes just back here who say that they've never had water get up to the homes before. They almost couldn't believe it when at 3 o'clock in the morning, they find out that there's water coming in the back door. And they told me that within 20 minutes, the water coming in the back was then waist deep, and they escaped. but just barely. And now they're kind of left stuck looking around in disbelief at just how severe this flood was and how much they have now to clean up.
The Guadalupe River continues to rush downstream as it drains the floodwaters in Kerrville. Howdy, I'm meteorologist Josh Johns with Fox 4 in Dallas, Texas, and this river continues to flow at a rapid rate. You can see the torrents behind me as this is rushing from Kerrville down towards Center Point and eventually towards Comfort before it continues through the hill country, eventually going into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, today is Friday, and yesterday, Thursday, this river was about 12 to 15 feet higher. At its current rate, it could fill up an Olympic swimming pool in 20 seconds. But yesterday, on Thursday, it only took 2 seconds. Look upstream here as we look at the bridge, the Sidney Baker Bridge, which carries Highway 16. There's a barge that ran into the bridge there. I have a buddy who is a AgriLife extension agent in Medina County. He mentioned, and his family has land here, he mentioned that a barge broke free around Ingram and slammed into a bridge in Kerrville. Not completely sure if it's that one, but it would fit the picture. And because of that, Highway 16 is closed. To give you an idea of how high the river was here, look behind me. That is the water line just above the bush there. So you can keep in mind that I'm roughly about 5'11". That's 2 to 3 times my height. That's how high the water was yesterday. We're continuing to watch flooding rainfall across parts of the Lone Star State. Other rivers are high. The Atlanta will be high today. The Pedernales continues to drain, and more water from last night fell near Lakey. That is going to be rushing towards Uvalde. So unfortunately, only going to get worse before it gets better here as they try to clean up from the flooding here in the Lone Star State.
Run! Run! It's coming at us! Run! That's gonna get crushed by this bridge. Run! 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 It's coming at us! Run! The dry Devil's River is about to overtop the bridge here on Main Street in Sonora. You even see debris starting to stack up against the bridge. It's about to overtop. Very dangerous situation here, life threat. Over its bank somewhere. This is a flash flood emergency, life-threatening situation. PDS flash flood emergency in Sonora, Texas on Dry Devil's River.
Still here?
Water boat.
the desperate efforts to rescue families trapped in another historic hill country flood. The Guadalupe River again pushing a deadly surge of water downstream.
When they talk about a wall of water, it is literally a wall of water.
First responders battling their way through black water to reach those trapped in the middle of the night. Rescuing Robert Shelton and his family from their flooded home in Kerrville.
Within a blink of an eye, it was already waist level, and then the door broke open and more water came rushing in.
He says they sheltered in the attic for more than 2 hours until rescuers could save them.
I was scared the house was going to break apart.
Daylight revealing the heart-sinking scope of yet another disaster here in Texas. 2 people are dead, more than 70 already rescued from the waters. It's the second 1,000-year flood in just over 1 year. The devastated community still reeling from the unprecedented 4th of July flood last year that killed 119 people in Kerr County alone.
It happened again. Unbelievable.
A memorial dedicated to the victims of last year's floods unveiled just 2 weeks ago, now underwater. The major highways left impassable in and out of the area. The water swelling into homes here, leaving some, like Carolyn Lampy, unsure whether they'll have a home left.
Well, my husband is fixing to be 90 years old, so this is really, really hard on him. He's having a really difficult time wrapping his head about maybe losing everything, at age 90.
What is being called a large and deadly flood wave is surging through the Texas Hill Country, and it's happening in many of the same communities devastated by last year's historic disaster. Flash flood emergencies, the highest level of flood warning, have been issued for parts of Kerr County and all of Uvalde County as slow-moving storms dump up to 20 inches of rain. Dozens of water rescues have already been reported as floodwaters sweep across south central Texas. The Guadalupe River in Comfort rose nearly 25 feet in 1 hour and topped the crest level seen last July, when flooding in South Texas killed more than 130 people, including children and counselors at Camp Mystic. The threat today is far from over. High risk of flooding remains in place, with catastrophic flash flooding and dangerous river rises still possible as more torrential rainfall moves through the region today and tonight.
This isn't just heavy rain anymore. Parts of Texas are now under a life-threatening flash flood emergency, and the situation is changing by the hour. A powerful storm system has triggered dangerous flash flooding across parts of central and south central Texas, turning roads into rivers and forcing emergency crews into nonstop rescue operations. Officials say at least 2 people have died, while more than 230 people have already been rescued from rising floodwaters. Rescue teams have been using boats, helicopters, and specialized emergency units to reach stranded residents as water continues rising in several communities. The hardest hit areas include parts of the Texas Hill Country, where days of relentless rain caused rivers to rise rapidly and forced road closures across the region. Authorities are urging people to stay off flooded roads, warning that conditions can change within minutes. Governor Greg Abbott has declared disaster areas across dozens of counties and says thousands of emergency personnel and rescue equipment have been deployed as Texas prepares for the possibility of more heavy rainfall. Officials continue monitoring river levels and weather conditions closely, saying the danger isn't over yet as additional rain could quickly worsen flooding in already saturated areas. Follow for latest updates.
It's like you guys don't listen to my videos. I mean, I keep saying Texas is terrible. It's an awful place to live because of storms and tornadoes and hurricanes, and the awful summer weather is just wet, and the bugs, and I can just go on and on and on. And last year at this time, these floods, massive floods. Oh yeah, it's 100-year flood, 1,000-year flood. It'll never happen. Here you are again with massive flooding. What are you doing? I have to question your sanity at this point. This is not a good place to live. Texas is an awful place to live. When you have to worry about weather constantly, believe me, I've been there. I've lived in Florida. So yeah, there's something about having peace and quiet. You know, peace and quiet. That's what this is. I live in Vegas. I don't have to worry about weather at all. Just occasionally it's a little hot in the summertime, but it's hot everywhere. But Texas, stop. Get out. Leave now while you still can, because that 100-year flood is going to be next year, the year after that, the year after that, the year after that.
Disturbing new video here. It shows several deer being swept away by floodwaters in Boerne, Texas, northwest of San Antonio. No word tonight on whether those animals survived this. Heavy rainfall causing rivers and creeks to rise, forcing evacuations. City leaders are warning people there the flooding is a serious, life-threatening situation. Avoid flooded roads and never drive around barricades. As the saying goes, turn around, don't drown.
Yeah, I mean, look, they even admit that this one is worse than the one they had in 2025. But y'all, it hit in the same exact place. Yeah, I felt bad for Bambi out there, you know. They sure didn't know what hit them. And it looked like it was about 4 of them floating out there. Maybe they made it. I mean, it doesn't mean they didn't make it. But y'all, yeah, this place is under some serious judgment. I was telling y'all a week ago it was flooded where I was. And it just seems like, and then I showed you where the Ozarks, that was flooded, you know, the white community. And now you see Texas is going through it. Ooh, that looks horrible where they are. So, yeah, the weather has definitely intensified in 2026. It's no doubt about it. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, Texas, that's some judgment right there. And y'all, be safe. Be safe. I can't believe how turbulent things are. So tomorrow morning at 11:45, I have some more Iran, where the Trump administration and the military took out bridges, and they did hit a power plant in Iran, and you know they're in the dark. But I tell you what, Iran came back with a fierce today. I was looking at what was going on a little earlier. They were hitting the hell out of U.S. bases over there. So it's nasty now. And, you know, if you watch the war on live, it has definitely stepped up a notch. It's what was happening before was mild compared to what's happening now. It's a lot more fierce. So, y'all have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbat. And I will see you on my next live. Shabbat Shalom.